Hello students. Today we are going to deal with the topic our environment. So when you hear the word environment, what comes in your mind? You know, your first feeling is nature, isn't it? So in this chapter we are going to learn about our environment. What are the things present in our environment? And this is a very light chapter and which you have already learned in lower classes. So we'll just move to the topic. So when we hear about environment, the next topic what we are going to hear is ecosystem. So can anybody tell about what is ecosystem? Ecosystem in simple terms is a community or group of living organisms that live and interact with each other in a specific environment. So ecosystem means an area where the biotic and abiotic organisms or living components are present. Biotic components means living organisms and abiotic components means non-living organism. So can you tell me what are the living organisms? Living organisms are plants, animals, we human beings, etc. And non-living organisms are, that is, rainfall, sunlight, soil, etc. So this interaction between this living organisms and non-living organism is known as an ecosystem. So living organisms are known as biotic components and non-living organisms are known as abiotic components. Hope you understood. We'll just see the next slide. These ecosystems are divided into two, that is biotic and abiotic. I already told biotic is known as living and abiotic is known as non-living. We'll just see a small video.
Ecosystem and its components. Ecosystem, the community in which living and non-living things interacts and maintain balance in nature is called ecosystem. For example, in forest there are various plants and animals. They interact with each other and their activities are dependent on non-living parameters such as soil, water. Hence, forest is an ecosystem. Types of ecosystem. Ecosystem can be artificial or natural. Artificial ecosystems are man-made ecosystems, for example, gardens, crop fields. Natural ecosystems are ecosystems that are produced naturally, for example, forests, lakes, ponds.
So ecosystems are of two types. They are natural ecosystem and artificial ecosystem. So when you hear the word natural ecosystem, from there itself you can understand it is present in nature. So examples of natural ecosystem you can see on the board, that is forest, lake, pond, etc., which is present in our nature. Whereas artificial ecosystem means man-made ecosystem. So that means man is making it. So for that the example is garden. We are making a garden at our home where the living and non-living organisms are there. The next example is aquarium. Aquarium, crop field. So at your home you are having aquarium. So can you tell me what are the non-living and living things in an aquarium? So living things you can say it is fish, then tiny plants we are using there, and non-living things we can say pebbles, water, these all. So artificial ecosystem are man-made ecosystem and natural ecosystem are ecosystem which is present in nature. Hope it is clear.
Components of ecosystem. All the living and non-living things.
Next we move to the topic components of ecosystem. So components of ecosystem are of two types, the biotic and abiotic components of ecosystem. Biotic, we have already told that biotic means living things and abiotic means non-living things.
Present in the ecosystem are the components of that ecosystem. Components of ecosystem are classified as biotic components and abiotic components. Biotic components. These are the living organisms of the ecosystem. For example, plants, animals, microorganisms.
So the examples of biotic components are plant, animal, microorganisms and we human beings. Whereas
And human beings. Biotic components can be further classified as producers, consumers, and decomposers.
so these biotic components are classified into producers, consumers and decomposers. So we have learned these topics and all earlier in the lower classes. Can you tell me what are producers? Yes, plants are coming under producers. So what is the specialty for plants? Plants are preparing their own food. So means they are producing their own food. Thus they are known as producers. Similarly, what do you mean by consumers? Consumers means which consumes food, which depend upon plants for their food. And what is decomposers? Which helps in decaying. So what are decomposers? Can anybody tell? Any clue is there? Yeah, microorganisms. So we'll just see this.
The organisms that can prepare their own food by the process of photosynthesis are called producers. Photosynthesis results in production of sugar and starch from simple substances such as carbon, oxygen, water in presence of sunlight and chlorophyll. Consumers. The organisms that are dependent directly or indirectly on producers.
So consumers are dependent directly or indirectly to the producers. These consumers are classified into three. Can anybody tell that? Yes, herbivores, carnivores and omnivores. Herbivores are which eat only plants and carnivores are which eat only meat and omnivores which eat both plant and meat. So this all you have learned in lower classes already. So we'll just see.
Are called consumers. For example, human, birds, animals. Consumers can be classified as herbivores. The organisms that directly dependent on plants. For example, goat. Carnivores. The organisms that obtain food by eating other animals are carnivores. For example, tiger. Omnivores. The organisms that can obtain food from plants as well as animals are called omnivores. For example, human.
So I think it is clear. Consumers are divided into three, that is herbivores, carnivores and omnivores. So one more group is there in this consumers. They are known as parasites. Parasites are depending upon other organisms for their food and shelter.
Parasites. Parasites attach to body of other living organisms and obtain their food from their body. For example, ticks.
Next is decomposers. So decomposers, you told that microorganisms. They are decaying the organisms which are present in the soil. Bacteria, example bacteria.
Decomposes. Those organisms that decompose complex organic substances into simple inorganic substances are called decomposers. For example, bacteria.
So the components of ecosystems, that is biotic and abiotic, we have just discussed only biotic components, that are they are producers, consumers and decomposers. Hope it is clear. Now the abiotic components. Abiotic components, in the starting of the lesson itself I told they are non-living things.
The decomposed waste forms simple substances that can be used by plants. Abiotic components. These are the physical factors such as soil, water, sunlight, rainfall, wind. Activities of organisms in the ecosystem depend on these factors.
So once more, the classifications of organisms are producers, consumers and decomposers. Hope it is clear, students. Now we'll move to the next topic, that is food chain. Food chain and food web. What is a food chain? Can anybody tell? Yeah, you are telling grass eaten by goat, goat eaten by lion, like that. Okay. Now, food chain, definition of food chain is a sequence of organisms which consumes energy. A sequence of organisms which consumes energy consumes the energy and pass it to the next trophic level. So what do you mean by a trophic level? When we tell a trophic level, we have already learned in the previous section that producers, consumers and decomposers. So producers are coming under the first trophic level. And when we come to the consumers, they are 3 levels. I'll just explain. You can see here an energy pyramid. In the first view, you can see that producers are coming under the first level. That means the plants. Plants are coming under producers. And consumers are divided into 3. In the previous section, we learned it as herbivores, carnivores and omnivores. So in the first one, we can see that the first one is primary consumers, secondary consumers and tertiary consumers. So primary consumers are herbivores, secondary consumers are the carnivores and tertiary consumers are the omnivores. Now we'll come back to the food chain. The food chain is a sequence of living organisms showing how each obtain food and how energy is passed from one level to another. So now you might have understood what is the level. So the examples of food chain. Here you can see the examples of food chain. First example, a 3-level food chain, that is corn is eaten by rat, rat is eaten by owl. The same way, the second one is a 4-linked food chain where you can see carrots eaten by rabbit, rabbit eaten by fox and fox eaten by lion. The same way, next one is a 5-linked food chain, that is grass, grass is eaten by grasshopper, grasshopper eaten by frog, frog eaten by python and python eaten by eagle. I think now it is clear about the food chain. A sequence of organisms where food is being transferred in the form of energy by consuming one another, food is transferred. Was it clear, children? Next is food web. So you all might have seen at home spider web. What is the specialty of spider web? You can see that spider is moving to all the parts of the web. It can move when it is building a web at our home, in the corners of our home. You can see that spider is building in such a way that spider is able to move to all part of the web, isn't it? So the same way, when we tell about food web, the food web is a natural interconnection of food chains. It shows the role of each organisms at different levels. That means several food chains are interconnected each other. Several food chains are interconnected each other. So example of food chain I'll show you. Sorry, food web. Here you can see the example of food chain. Grass is being consumed by grasshopper and the same grass is eaten by rat. So interlinking of food chain is there. So several food chains are known as food web. Is it clear? Hope it is clear. So today we have just wind up these all topics. Just I'll show you a video also based on food chain and food web.
All living things need energy in order to live, and they get this energy from the food they eat. All food chains start with plants and end with animals. Plants are called producers because they produce their own food from sunlight, water, and the nutrition that they get from the soil. Animals are called consumers because they cannot prepare their own food and are directly or indirectly dependent on plants for their energy. Some animals eat plants and some eat animals for energy. Animals that eat only plants to get energy are called herbivores. For example, deers, cows, grasshoppers. Animals that eat other animals to get energy are called carnivores. For example, tigers, lions, snakes. Animals that eat both plants and animals to get energy are called omnivores. For example, monkeys and bears. A simple food chain starts with grass, which is eaten by rabbits. Then the rabbits are eaten by foxes. A big food chain starts with acorns, which are eaten by mice. The mice are eaten by snakes. And then finally the snakes are eaten by frogs. At each link in the chain, energy is being transferred from one animal to another. Marine food chain. A marine food chain starts with phytoplankton, which are eaten by small fishes. Then the small fishes are eaten by medium-sized fishes. And at last, the medium-sized fishes are eaten by big fishes. Food web. The arrows in a food chain show the flow of energy. A network of many food chains is called a food web.
Okay, children, now we have completed the section Our Environment, the introduction. Now for tomorrow, you just do this section, just you can copy it. The first one is, given below are some animals, arrange them in a food chain found in grassland. And the second one is define ecosystem, name 2 types of ecosystem, give examples. And the third one is briefly explain components of ecosystem. You can write it and bring it for the next class. I'll be valuing at that time. Thank you.